Renowned constitutional scholar Alan Dershowitz says radical Dems threatening to subpoena the full Mueller report have no legal authority to demand its release.
The special counsel, under the rules, has an obligation to file a report with the Attorney General. There's nothing in the rules that require the Attorney General to make the report public, particularly if it contains information critical of people who are not indicted. So this is a political issue. This is a media issue. This is not a legal issue.
Joining me now to talk about it, Judicial Watch President Tom Fitton. Tom, great to see you. So,
hey,
unindicted individuals, secret grand jury testimony, as well as classified information. I mean, I'm not sure that there's a strong legal basis for Nadler and company to be demanding the full unredacted Mueller report. But this will end up being a multi-year litigation, won't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's a fake fight that the Democrats want to engage in to distract from the destruction of their dossier, their party's dossier. The Democrats on the Hill are conflicted here. It's their political party that created this evidence that Mueller is found wanting. And so why keep on fighting over that when they can fight over the subpoenaing of the Mueller report? And a subpoena isn't a magic document, as you know, Greg. You got to go to court to get it enforced. And the courts are skeptical of subpoenas that seek executive privilege material or grand jury material. And that being said, Attorney General Barr is likely to release almost all of it. So there's not going to be much to fight about, but they want to pretend to fight. And if they issue a subpoena, what it's going to do is going to actually slow the release of information. And I guarantee you that if a subpoena fight ensues, groups like Judicial Watch will be able to get this material quicker under the Freedom of Information Act than even Congress would. So this is gamesmanship by the Democrats who want to distract from their involvement in this seditious conspiracy to overthrow the president. It's that straightforward.
Well, speaking of gamesmanship, now it's a game of semantics because the media, mainstream media, as well as Democrats who for so long were howling criminal collusion, are now saying, well, we didn't really mean criminal collusion. We just meant the sort of colloquial layperson's definition of collusion, which is not necessarily criminal. And there was plenty of that, they claim.
Well, you know, they want to run away from the idea of criminal collusion because I think you have a strong argument that's what was going on with Peter Strzok and others who were colluding with outside third parties like Fusion GPS in terms of an abuse of power to target a candidate for the president and then the president.
Right.
So there's a self-interest in running away from the term criminal collusion. You know, and getting back to this idea about transparency, of course, it's selective transparency. They want to focus on the Mueller report, which they hope has smears in it. Well, I'm sure it does, targeting President Trump. But they don't want transparency in the FISA warrants and on the underlying corruption behind the Mueller operation and the anti-Trump operation under the Obama DOJ and FBI. Right. And, you know, this is where groups like Judicial Watch have to do the heavy lifting and suing in court to get this information.
And you always have.
Because Congress is not the vehicle to get information about government corruption. We kind of know that already. President Trump should go on a transparency tear. He shouldn't even have to wait for lawsuits or requests. He should direct his agencies to release it all.
Yeah.
And it would be very hard for any honest person to disagree with that.
You know what's great about their demands for transparency is now that just opens the door for the president to release those 5 groups of classified documents that he has been holding, which will totally blow the lid off and expose the corruption among people at the FBI and the Department of Justice.
Well, that's exactly right. You've got the additional material in the FISA warrant applications that he hasn't released yet. You have the interviews with Bruce Orr. We don't even know what Mueller was authorized to investigate because they've been keeping that authorizing document written months after the fact secret in large measure from the American people. We just sued in court the other day over the leaks allegedly between Clapper and Brennan and CNN. Just imagine if the DOJ and the FBI were forced to release that type of material, or the CIA.
Yeah.
This has got to be an all-hands-on-deck move by the president. Next cabinet agency meeting, next cabinet meeting he has, this ought to be priority one.
Dems, you want everything released? Great! I'm going to release all this other stuff that will demonstrate that the law enforcers became the lawbreakers at the FBI and the Department of Justice under President Obama. I want to ask you about these calls for Adam Schiff, chairman of the Intelligence Committee, and, you know, that's an oxymoron with him, to resign. What do you make of that? Is that going to go anywhere? I mean, he's certainly lost any moral authority to be head of that committee.
Well, he ought to at least step down as chairman of the Intelligence Committee. That's what happened to Devin Nunes when false charges were lodged against him by Schiff and his allies in the media or outsiders. We filed a complaint against Schiff over his improper disclosure of classified information as part of his effort to destroy Donald Trump. It was a substantial complaint, which, of course, the Democrats on the Ethics Committee had suppressed. So as far as we know, he can't be trusted to handle classified information. So we're under no obligation. The agencies are under no obligation to provide classified information to Adam Schiff just because he's head of the Intelligence Committee. If he's someone who can't be trusted, they should just freeze him out. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think Americans are beginning to realize that Adam Schiff is nothing but a phony who would walk a mile for a camera and loves to advance.
Well, you know, this is where we need the transparency on Congress. President Trump should reevaluate whether or not the executive branch can provide transparency over Congress as well and demand answers about congressional involvement in this effort to overthrow the presidency.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you want a good laugh, reread the cross-examination by Schiff of Carter Page, in which Schiff just makes a fool of himself time and time again. I don't know how he manages to think with that brain of his, but there you have it. Tom Fitton, thanks very much.